Today has been a day, to say the least. It has been a wild day on Twitter because we've had a lot of weird stuff going on, and now all of a sudden, Gus Edwards, they had torn his ACL, Marcus Peters is banged up, El Flaco Sanchez on Facebook saying, "What is this?" Great question, El Flaco. I have the exact same question. A lot of strange stuff going on. We're going to be talking about single game DFS and betting for the Cowboys versus Bucks coming up tonight. If you want to ask about the Ravens situation, feel free. We're here. Why not? If you're here for the MLB Q&A, that's coming up later on, 4:30 p.m. for today. But right now, let's talk some football, whatever subjects may come up. This is the FanDuel Live Q&A right here on the FanDuel YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, and Twitter pages. My name is Jim Sonis. I am a senior writer and analyst for numberFire.com, here to take your questions for the next hour, talking both single game DFS for the Cowboys and the Buccaneers, and then later on MLB DFS for the main slate for tonight. As always, or if you're a new listener, new watcher for today, no matter where you're watching, you can get your questions in. YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, Twitter. No matter where you're watching, get those questions in the comments. We'll take them live here on the air and try to talk through what has been a wild day with plenty of more wildness still to come, with the opening game of the NFL season being tonight between the Buccaneers and the Cowboys. So let's start things off here by talking to Cody over on Facebook. Cody says Brady captain. So Cody, first of all, phrasing, MVP over on FanDuel for a single game daily fantasy. The way this works is your MVP on FanDuel, if you've not played single game DFS on FanDuel, the MVP slot earns 1.5x points, and there is no different salary for the MVP versus elsewhere. So if I put Tom Brady at the MVP, it's the same salary as if I put him in the NA flex spot. And Cody, I do think that if you are filling out like a quote unquote optimal lineup, like trying to just maximize your median score, then Tom Brady is going to be the guy you would turn to first because he is at home. It's a large implied total, facing I think a defense that might be better than expectation this year. Personally, I think they could be pretty okay. I think that they could be all right, at least better than they were last year. But you still want to put Tom Brady in there, in part because he's Tom Brady, but also because you get a lot of spread out market shares in this game. We've got 3 relevant wide receivers on the Buccaneers, 3 relevant wide receivers on the Cowboys side. The one like true unquestioned number 1 running back in this game is Zeke Elliott, but he's got a really tough matchup. Big underdog, may lose some work to Tony Pollard as well. And the Bucks guys, I don't really want to put at MVP. So Cody, yes, I think that the default MVP selection for today is Tom Brady. Let's talk to William on Facebook. Do you think Dak Prescott can pass for 291 yards versus the Bucks today? But submit this for a player prop, Cody, and I think you can actually get, if you found 291, that's a pretty good number because I believe on FanDuel, Dak Prescott's around 294. Let me pull this up over here. They have Dak at 294.5. So you can find 291, William. That's a pretty good number for Dak Prescott. I know numberFire's projections have Dak going for, I think, 300 is the passing yardage number for him for today. He is at 301.6. And I do think that is a fair number. I would also say if the Cowboys are playing things smart for today, they're probably going to keep things in the air. You don't want to run on this Bucs defense. So I feel like the smart way to play things for the Cowboys would be to let Dak Prescott air things out. So at 291, William, I'd go over. And I think, honestly, even if you can, like, let's say, as you should, you are resigned to FanDuel Sportsbook, can't bet anywhere else, 294.5, I still think over is a very viable option there for Dak Prescott. DJ is asking CeeDee Lamb or Chris Godwin. I like both, DJ. I am very on board with both. I would say, though, my slight preference is for CeeDee Lamb for today. CeeDee Lamb's salary on FanDuel for tonight in the single game slate is $10,000, which is outrageously low. Chris Godwin down at $12,500, and Lamb is at $10,000. Let's put Tom Brady in here just like a default, just to know what we're working with. If we go CeeDee Lamb, that's actually increasing our average salary here. So if we use Tom Brady, that means we are assuming the Bucs score points. We're assuming they put points on the board. That would mean the Cowboys have to play catch up. That's good for CeeDee Lamb. I would also say, DJ, that Michael Gallup is undersalaried at $9,000. Both these guys, to me, are really solid options relative to their salary. I think this is a good place to start. Brady, Lamb, Gallup. Obviously, it's not going to be a contrarian way to build things, but I do think it is a smart way to go for today. Salvatore says he likes OJ Howard for today. I don't mind that, Salvatore, because we're looking for ways to be different in single game, especially like I have the Thursday million pulled up. There are 952,000 entries in this contest. You've got to find some ways to be different. And OJ Howard is a guy we know has a lot of talent coming off an injury, but he's on a good team. I think the $6,500 salary is probably going to keep a decent number of people away from him. I think OJ Howard, if you're looking for a way to be a bit different, get a guy who should play some snaps, has some talent, I don't mind that Salvatore. I think that is totally fine. William, do you think that Tom Brady can throw for over 305 yards today? He can. Definitely can. I would not bet the over there personally. I actually might be pretty okay taking the under because the Bucs at times have been a team that have been willing to run the football, grind some clock. And they've got some like good actual running backs. Like if you're just talking about running the football, Ronald Jones and Leonard Fournette are pretty good at that. So I personally would not be looking at an over on Tom Brady. And honestly, I think that an under is pretty enticing on Tom Brady. He's 300.5 on FanDuel. I think that I'm going to avoid that one personally, but 305, I could talk myself into the numberFire projections for Brady having 274. That's probably too low, but it does say, again, that we can expect this team to throw the football or run the football a bit more, given the spread for this game. So I'll take an under on 305 there. William. Salvatore says, using OJ Howard not at MVP, just in his lineup. Yeah, I think that's the sort of smart way to play things for today. So I see that Withrow also asked about OJ Howard later on. Mr. Jackie Moon over on Twitch says, hey, Jim, I went with Antonio Brown for the MVP. It's going to be all or nothing for him. Yeah, I think that he's kind of interesting there because we do want to try to find ways to differentiate. The one pushback I would give is that it's not often that wide receivers are the highest scoring players for an overall game on FanDuel. My colleague at numberFire, Brandon Gadula, who hopefully all of you know and love, Brandon did a study last year looking at how often each position winds up being the highest scoring player for the game based on FanDuel scoring rules. And he found that it's about 33% quarterback and 33% running back. I think it was slightly over for running back. I don't think the running backs will be the plays for this game specifically, but I do think that the overall thought process of wide receivers doing it less often is valid, especially when it's a situation where it's Antonio Brown, he's sharing a lot of targets, stuff like that. I actually think, Jackie, if you want to go with a Buccaneers wide receiver for the MVP slot, I might be tempted by Mike Evans because the way to have like a massive high scoring game is getting high leverage targets. And we know Mike Evans is going to get those. At least he did last year down the stretch. When he was healthy, Mike Evans was getting downfield looks, getting goal line looks. So I think I might lean towards Mike Evans. Like if Jackie, if you want to go with a receiver at MVP, I would say check out Mike Evans. Jackie, do you think Ronald Jones is going to get any touches near the goal line or they go to Fournette? I think they might do it in like a shift situation, like playing the hot hand. So what I wouldn't be shocked if they do is first drive Rojo, second drive Fournette. And for both those, they're rotating in Giovanni Bernard on third down. I don't think those guys are going to sniff a third down this entire night unless things are, third and short, stuff like that. So I'm not sure, Jackie, and I don't think it's going to be very predictive which guy will get the goal line looks for this team because, like, honestly, they're both fine in that situation. So I would say, and like Fournette, he's had some issues as a goal line rusher throughout his career. So I would say I can't get a firm read there. And it might not be super predictive which one gets the looks. Kyle, thoughts on each of the big three Dallas wide receivers? I like all of them, Kyle, because I do think that this is a situation where the Cowboys passing offense is undervalued for DFS for tonight, given the potential game script and just looking at their salaries. I think they're all undersalaried. In general, like straight up, Kyle, I like CeeDee Lamb and Michael Gallup more because they're lower salaried. I'd expect Lamb to have probably roughly even market shares to Amari Cooper. So if I get him at a $2,000 discount, I'll take that. The counterpoint is I'm guessing everyone else will be thinking the exact same way. And so if I, go with Lamb and Gallup and load up on those two guys and gloss over Cooper, I'm missing out on some ways to differentiate my lineups. I would expect that Lamb will be much more popular than Cooper. So there could be a thought to getting to Amari Cooper at $12,000 in order to get yourself a different lineup than what the rest of the field has. So Straight up, Kyle, I prefer Lamb and Gallup, but I do think that there is a lot of credence to getting up to Cooper in order to take advantage of the fact that a lot of other people will probably be looking elsewhere and trying to save the salary for tonight. William, can Cooper get to 72 yards tonight? That is too high for me. Too high of a number. I would be avoiding that one and looking towards an under. Can Godwin get 5 catches? That's also a pretty high number. I think given the way they might spread things out. Didn't this practice on Tuesday or was limited in practice on Tuesday? He was fine Wednesday, so there's no concerns about him playing, but that's a high number. I would say under on Cooper and stay away on Chris Godwin. Salvatore, do you have any stats on Gio's red bone touches? It's a typo. He did clarify red zone. I think red bone is pretty fun as well. There is a restaurant in Cambridge, Massachusetts called Red Bone. Pretty good barbecue place. If you're ever in town, Salvatore, want to check that out. I wouldn't really expect Gio to be like the quote unquote red zone back. Now, the counter to that is that we've seen James White be a red zone back for the Patriots back in the day. Nyheim Hines got a lot of red zone usage for the Colts, and those guys are kind of a similar archetype to Giovanni Bernard. So I wouldn't really be that shocked if that were to happen. William is asking, can Elliott get 63 yards with the Bucs defense? If you're asking rushing yards, I would say under. If you're asking aggregate yards, then I think that we're in a situation where I'd be staying away because I do expect Zeke to get some passing game work for tonight for the Cowboys. So, William, if it's rushing yards, under. If it is aggregate yards, I would consider an over there, but I'd be more inclined to stay away. DJ, I did Brady, Godwin, Evans, Cooper, Howard. Thoughts? I think that one might be a very popular combination. The one key, I think, DJ, for you is that you are using Howard, and I wouldn't expect Howard to be all that popular. Let's see how much salary is being used up there, because that seems like it's probably going to be a pretty popular combination. Evans and Cooper. So right at $6,500. I would try to find a way, DJ. So this is like a tournament. I try to find a way to be a bit more different. Like maybe drop down to Gallup and leave $3,000 on the table, drop down to Gallup and change him to Gronk instead of OJ Howard, something like that. Because if you use up all the salary cap with this type of lineup, I think that lineup will be duplicated by a lot of teams for tonight. Jenna is asking, Jarwin or Schultz? Will Schultz be lower rostered for today? I would say based on the training camp buzz, I think we're going to see a lot of Dalton Schultz. So I feel like if I'm choosing one, Jenna, between the two of them, I might be inclined to just go Schultz. Jarwin coming off that ACL, maybe ramped up slowly, and it sounds like they do like what Schultz did last year. So if I'm choosing the better one straight up, I would go Schultz. Now, I will say I would bet, because a lot of single game players tend to be pretty sharp. Respect to them for the way they play things. I wouldn't be shocked if Schultz is the more popular guy, but I think that's justified. So between the two, Jenna, I would go Schultz. And I think that Schultz is a pretty solid way to play things here for the Cowboys. If you want to go that way, I'm fine with that. Jackie says, Tom can put up 305 every game if he wanted. The only problem is he's a smart quarterback, would rather drain the clock than get personal stats. Yeah, how dare he? How dare he, Jackie, forsake our fantasy teams for the sake of his team. Just rude across the board from Tom Brady. But you're right. And I think it's not just like the Tom Brady thing, but Bruce Arians is smart. You know, he knows if you get a lead, you want to drain clock. So that's why I think 305, despite being a number Tom Brady could get to very easily, is still not a number I bet an over on, just because of the way this game is expected to play out. Steve says he's got Zeke Elliott at captain. I think that that's going to be a pretty contrarian way to play things, Steve, and I'm not opposed to it. I know the matchup is very tough, but we know that Zeke Elliott's probably going to get passing game work. The touchdown expectation is there. We talk about how we have to find ways to be different. And Zeke is a way to be different. He could be a workhorse for this team. So yes, the matchup is very tough, but passing game work should be there. If it's a lower scoring game, that could help things as well to lower the appeal in the two quarterbacks. So Steve, I think if you're trying to be different, I don't think that's too bad. I think that's a pretty viable way to do things. The Loco Croco says, I rolled all 3 Bucs wide receivers with Dak and CeeDee. Again, I think that one might be kind of popular as a way to play things. So also so you're glossing over Brady. So basically what the Loco Croco is trying to do is soak up all Brady's production via the 3 wide receivers and then get the production via the Cowboys. So yeah, I get that for sure. And not having Brady might be a contrarian way to stack the Bucs. So that might work. I would say though that if all 3 Bucs wide receivers come through, the odds that Brady's not in the perfect lineup seem to be pretty low. So I think it's interesting as a way to be different, potentially, but I probably, there aren't a lot of paths to that one being the optimal lineup for tonight. Jackie says, yeah, Antonio Brown's targets scare me. I've seen a lot of positive buzz on Brown in training camp. So I think that what that does is it increases the uncertainty in this pass catching core. The good thing is, Brown is $9,500 for today, or $9,000, which means it's probably going to inflate his roster rate quite a bit. So maybe again, I think going Evans might be a sharp way to play things for the Bucs. Paying up or spending up to be contrarian is always pretty viable. Nisser says, I have Gus Edwards. He just got injured. Should I drop Derek Carr or Cole Beasley for Le'Veon Bell? If Tyson Williams is out there, go get him first. I'm guessing he's not. Otherwise, you wouldn't be asking this. I would drop Derek Carr, assuming he's your backup quarterback. Drop Derek Carr, pick up Le'Veon Bell. I know Trenton Cannon is on the 53-man roster, but he's traditionally been a pure special teamer, so I wouldn't expect him to be a guy who gets a lot of work. It'll probably be Le'Veon Bell as the number 2 behind Tyson Williams. Salvatore, over-under on Antonio Brown getting a punt return. I have not seen their punt return unit, so I'm not sure on that one, unfortunately. Sorry about that, Salvatore. Jerry says, low-scoring game, 23-20 type deal. Okay, I think that's an interesting call there. Jerry, the total here, I think, is 51.5 for this game. Let me pull that up. See if it has shifted. 52.5. So Jerry wants the under for Bucs Cowboys. Savon says, learning about football DFS. I am new to this. Is it okay to have both quarterbacks on the entry? Yes. Great question, Savon. And I think that for today specifically, given how spread out the target shares are for both teams, I'm on board, man. I think that's actually a really good way to play things. We put in Tom Brady and Dak Prescott. We're at $9,500. We can easily get there via peppering in guys like Brown, Gallup, Lamb, getting down to, if you want to go Gronk, you want to go Dalton Schultz, Gio, someone like that. You can make this work very easily, Savon. I think that for tonight, if you're doing one lineup, I'd probably try to get both in there. I think that's a good way to play things. So, Savon, good question and good strategy for you there. Jackie says, Tom does love to pass to the running back, so I could see Rojo being in there as well. He just can't catch. I'm a data person. I try really hard not to let what I see on the field infiltrate a lot of stuff. It has to at times, but watching Ronald Jones play in the passing game makes me want to puke. So it's really hard for me to advocate for that. I think that Gio is interesting. The problem is it's not really a script that sets up super well for Gio. And honestly, they might not have a lot of those for this year, but yeah, I think that the running backs for the Bucs all pretty tough to get super inspired by. Just because I think that they're going to split things up quite a bit. Let's talk to Alex. Is Bernard a good value pick? Alex on Facebook. Yeah, I mean, he's at 99. Where is he? Wow. Did I miss him? $7,000. Okay. So I don't think that's bad, just because the good thing for Gio is that he's going to be getting the kinds of looks that can allow you to score points in a hurry because he gets passing game work, and passing game work is more efficient than carries. A target for a running back on FanDuel is worth twice as much as a carry. So let's say Gio Bernard gets 5 targets, no carries. Ronald Jones gets 10 carries and no targets. Their outlook would be pretty equal there between the two of them. And that does account for touchdowns and stuff like that too. So I would say Gio is interesting. I think that the spot where Gio makes the most sense is a lineup where you go Dak Prescott as your MVP and assume the Cowboys win this game. I think that's actually a really fun way to play things. If you're trying to be different, the easiest way to be different in a situation where you've got everyone on the public back in the Buccaneers is to do a Cowboy stack. So you get Dak in there, you get Zeke in there, and let's go Amari. Because again, the higher salary may be beneficial in terms of keeping people away from him. Then you can put Gio in there because you assume the Cowboys take a lead and it forces the Bucs to go with more of a pass-heavy approach. That's good for Giovanni Bernard. So I do think that is a way to play things. Gio works well if you go with Dak Prescott as your MVP. Savon asking, would you have this Q&A live for Sunday games? I don't, but my colleague, JJ Zachariason, does. I say colleague. By that, I mean he's my boss. My boss, JJ, is on here live every Sunday from noon to 12:30. And I believe starting this year, we're going to have a Q&A or some type of chat from 12:30 to 1. I think this week is Ryan Williams and Aaron K. Dolan, two of the awesome people we've added over this offseason. So I'm excited to tune into them and hear what they have to say, talking more betting at 12:30. So I won't be here because I'll be filling in my lineups and sweating a lot. But they will be here. JJ at noon, Ryan and Aaron at 12:30, I believe is the lineup for this week. And I think that'll be on all four: YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, and Twitter as well. But not totally certain on that. I should know, but I don't. Let's talk to Jackie. As a Cowboys fan, I know Amari can completely disappear in road games, especially against good corners and safeties. It's the only thing that worries me. Yes, that is a legit concern, which is why, again, straight up, I want to go with CeeDee Lamb and I want to go Michael Gallup over Amari Cooper because they're lower salaried. But if we're talking trying to be different, I think a lot of people have that same thought, Jackie, and I agree with you. I totally agree. Carlton Davis is sick. So like it's a tough spot for sure. But if we're trying to be different, that's a situation where Cooper gains a lot of value for me. Cody, will Gronk do anything? Is he the starting tight end? He will still be the starting tight end. I think the one question I'd have about Gronk, especially early in the year when maybe he's trying to conserve himself, is upside, because especially early on last year, didn't really have it. He gained a lot of upside in the playoffs and started to show some more yardage juice there. Wasn't a big thing during the regular season, though. So I think that he's definitely in play because he's $7,500. We know that he can score touchdowns and stuff like that, but I'm not actively, stumbling over myself to get in there, to get over to Gronk. Julius says, dang, no baseball. Julius, don't you worry. Baseball coming up at 4:30 today. We'll be talking about the delicious 4-game slate coming up tonight. So Julius, hopefully you stay tuned. We'll talk about that at 4:30. Ian Nev, actually, let's go with Alex. What's your best value lineup? So if you're talking about like under-salaried players, Alex, I would say CeeDee Lamb, Michael Gallup are 1 and 2 on that list. And I think that they're the most under-salaried guys by a significant margin. I would say Ronald Jones is undersalaried relative to Leonard Fournette, but again, his path to a big game, paying off in a major way, erasing mistakes elsewhere. It's a tough path to envision because he's probably not going to get passing game work, might not get the goal line work as well. So I would put Jones pretty well behind Lamb and Gallup. I put Antonio Brown at $9,000 above him as well. If we're trying to find guys who may look good as a result of, if you're trying to, I don't think you'll need to bend over backwards to get value for today personally. But if you're looking for ways to be different, ways to save some salary in order to differentiate, I would say Dalton Schultz at $6,500 is a pretty good route for doing so. Gronk at $7,500 too. Giovanni Bernard is there. OJ Howard is there. Jarwin, I guess you could talk yourself into as being an option. Again, I think that he's behind Schultz, and I'd expect Jarwin to probably be the more popular option between the two. So I think those are the primary guys we're turning to. If we're looking for someone underneath Gallup, Brown, and Lamb as someone I really like to save some salary, I do think that in terms of being a bit different, Dalton Schultz is a fun way to go at $6,500. Let's talk to Salvatore. Exactly what I was talking about, the comparison to James White or Burkhead. Want to see if Brady has AB in those Edelman routes. Yeah, I think that, again, thinking about Gio in terms of those other satellite backs, especially ones like White who've been tied to Brady in the past, that is a viable route for sure. DJ, just a heads up, Gus Edwards is downgraded doubtful. Yeah, he hurt his knee in practice. So that's for Monday, I believe. Yeah, we'll be back here on Monday. We're going to have a Monday football preview too. Ryan Williams hosting. I'll be on to talk with him Monday at 4 p.m. here on the same page. So swing back there. We'll talk about that game, but it's brutal. I feel bad for the Ravens, feel bad for their fans. It's just, it's brutal. Kind of stinks to see all that happen for them. Salvatore says Brady did throw a lot of picks last year. He did. Yeah. I mean, we see that a lot. My co-host on Covering the Spread, Dr. Ed Feng, has done research into how many interceptions guys throw in their first year with Bruce Arians. And it's a lot. Bruce Arians runs a unique scheme. He runs an aggressive scheme because, as he says, no risk it, no biscuit. And he's right. You got to chuck that puppy downfield. So although their picks are they're not devastating picks. And I think that's why the Bucs are where they're at for this one. Let's talk to Aaron. Hey, Jim, how many touches projected for Giovanni Bernard? Well, Aaron, let me tell you about this website called numberFire.com, where we have those exact projections available for you for free. Let's go over to running back here. Probably not going to be a whole lot for Gio, if I'm being fully honest. I trust our projections are Sam House. So we'll see what Gio is at. I can't see the headers here. I should probably switch to running back. Did I switch to running back? I think I did. Okay. He's projected for 4.09 FanDuel points. I believe that's 3.72 carries and 1.94 receptions. So probably about 5 to 10 or so, somewhere in there. Depends on the game script, Aaron. Like if they get behind, that number goes up. But if they roll and the given that we now have the Bucs as 9-point favorites, maybe it's 9.5. That does lower the touch projection for Gio Bernard. Savon, besides Tom Brady, who is a must-have on this lineup for cash entry? I would say going your route, Savon, and getting both Tom Brady and Dak Prescott in there is a must if you're playing like a head-to-head for tonight. Jackie, Beasley was on my do not touch list of fantasy. I don't trust him being out there every week, nor should you. You know, it's weird. That's weird for well. Let's talk to Giovanni. Spelled different than Giovanni Bernard. I'm loading Cowboys into Bucks, sleeper or kicker. Yeah. So I like the idea of going with the Cowboys for today, because again, I think it's a good way to be different without being stupid. The Cowboys could not very easily. They could win this game. So I think that is a way to be different without being stupid. You build an assumption lineup under the assumption the Cowboys win this game. So again, getting Dak in there. The one thing I would say, Giovanni, is on the Bucs side of things, I would not go with a kicker if you're loading up on the Cowboys, because loading up on the Cowboys implies the Cowboys score a lot of points. And the more points that the Cowboys score, the more points the Bucs need to score, which means the less inclined they are to settle for a field goal. So if you're loading up on Cowboys, I would say check out Giovanni Bernard, check out Gronk, check out OJ Howard, check out Antonio Brown as guys who are lower salaried, lowering your exposure, your salary allocation to the Bucs, but who can do well in a negative script where we assume the Cowboys are ahead. Keep that in mind for sure. Let's see here. Savon said, or let's go to Aaron. How much does Tampa Bay run 2 tight end sets? I would expect that to be, I guess actually, I don't know, Aaron, because like it's tough going into this year because we don't really have a relevant sample on them, because Antonio Brown wasn't with the team all year last year, so we couldn't get to see what they would be like with a full offseason with him. And B, OJ Howard is not healthy. And like Cameron Brate's fine, but he's not going to grade out as well for me, at least, as OJ Howard. So they get OJ Howard, but they also get a full offseason of Antonio Brown. I'm not sure what the 2 tight end set number will look like. So that's an open question for sure. DJ, random question. How would you rank Corey Davis this year? I like him. I think that given the trust Zach Wilson showed in him during the preseason, Davis should set up well. The 2 counterpoints are I'd expect the Jets to be pretty run heavy this year when they can be, because it's a LaFleur/Shanahan scheme. They probably want to run the football. They did run quite a bit in the preseason. That's one thing. And second thing is that there was no Elijah Moore during those games during the preseason either. So keep that in mind. But I do like Corey Davis. Jerry, I'm really in Corey Davis this year. He and Croft are great targets for the rookie. Yeah, again, I think that I really do hope that pans out, because I've got a lot of Zach Wilson, a lot of Elijah Moore in Dynasty this year. Jackie says it could be ACL for Edwards, and Sean says Gus is out for the year. It's tough, man. It stinks. Like J.K. Dobbins is a really fun player. To not have him is a massive bummer. Then I also like watching Gus Edwards. Like I think that he might have been a bit overvalued for fantasy, but like I like watching him because like watching those old school running backs is like enjoyable. Like that brand of football is aesthetically pleasing. So it's a massive bummer. I hope Tyson Williams does well. I think that it's fun to see guys rise up and get a chance they might not have gotten previously. So I really hope he does well, but just a bummer, especially I think they were saying that Marcus Peters got hurt too. And like that stinks. So just bummers for Raven fans. If you're a Ravens fan, I'm sorry. Sending out my condolences and good vibes your way. Jackie says Cowboys defense anytime touchdown. Lock it in now, folks. Jackie, I'd avoid personally, but good for you. Good for you for being bold. Love it. I love the enthusiasm. Let's see here. Jerry is saying Scoop as captain. Who is Scoop? Am I missing someone? Is there someone with a nickname as Scoop? Is it Amari Cooper, maybe? I don't know. Jerry, let me know who Scoop is, and we'll get back to that one. DJ says, should I put one of the kickers in the team? Kickers just never in your MVP slot, but DJ, in lineups where you assume that the Cowboys, suck up. Sorry, DJ, missed that one. My bad. If you assume the Bucs win, go ahead and put their kicker in. That's totally okay. If you assume the Cowboys win and roll, put their kicker in. Situations where you want to avoid kickers is where it's a tighter game, back and forth game, shootout type scenario, because then both teams are putting up points, which means the odds that a kicker winds up being one of the 5 highest scoring players are a bit lower. So I think that's something to keep in mind. If you assume the Bucs roll, sick. Go with their kicker. If you assume the Cowboys roll, go with their kicker based on that. Salvatore says I might leave $2,000 or $4,000 in terms of salary. Yeah, I mean, again, especially the contest I have pulled up is the Thursday Million. There are 952,000 entries in this thing, and there aren't a lot of ways to play things. You got to be weird. It's going to look stupid. Your lineup should look dumb if you're in this contest. If you're in a smaller contest, do whatever you want. That's more viable. But in a larger field contest, you've got to find ways to be different, got to find ways to change things up. And I do think that leaving salary on the table is one route for doing so. I think finding different game scripts than is projected is another way to do so. And those are the main ways. So that's going to wrap up our NFL talk for today. Oh, actually, sorry, I got 2 more in there. I was opening up Twitter to tweet out the MLB link, and I missed some more. Jackie says Latavius Murray to the Ravens. Not sure who all else is out there. I think Latavius might be toast. Didn't look good. They brought in Le'Veon Bell over him, which is not a good sign. That's a little scary for Latavius. And then Self 231, Gronkowski or Gio. I think it depends on the script, Self. If you assume the Bucs win, give me Gronk. If you assume the Cowboys win, give me Gio. And then Jerry says suck up as captain. And then so that you've got 5 guys in there, Jerry, which I assume means you're playing on FanDuel. Kickers are almost never the highest scoring guys on FanDuel. So I would try to find someone else's captain if you're on FanDuel, because they're almost never the highest scoring guys. So Aaron is asking for baseball. So let's talk about some baseball and transition now to the MLB side of this Q&A. I'm going to get the tweet out here really quick. It's transitioning to MLB now. Okay, good tweet, Jim. Did it. Awesome. Proud of you, man. All right. Got the tweet out. We'll get the masses back over here. Talk about this 4-game MLB DFS slate. Now, the one thing worth mentioning here is there is some weather of note here today. This is via Kevin Roth over on RotoGrinders, his write-up from this morning. And he said that both these games at that time, based on the National Weather Service, looked to be dry, but his forecast was for there to be some rain. And when I looked at the dark sky weather forecast for both these games, it also said rain was possible. That was for the Yankees game and for the Phillies game. So I trust Kevin. Again, Kevin tends to tweet out his updates for the weather around 5:30 or so. If Kevin says, don't play this game, don't play it. Trust him over me, as always. Just want to note that before we dive in here, that we could see some rough weather in terms of baseball for the Yankees game and the Phillies game. If we don't care about weather and can just play things all clear, Jerry says the Yankees are all clear. Okay, I trust Jerry, and Jerry we trust. Let's go get this Yankees game in. If we just play things straight up, I think it's a pretty dicey slate, to say the least, because there aren't really pitchers you want to trust. I think that Huascar Ynoa is the number 1 pitcher for tonight, in large part because of his matchup. I was slacking with my coworker Austin Cass earlier today, and he said that the Nationals apparently are 6th in WOBA over the past month, which is absurd to me. I had no idea that was true. So apparently I am totally writing off the Nationals, should not be doing so. Apparently they've actually been good recently. I had no idea. So kudos to you, Washington. I still want to use Ynoa against you tonight. Ynoa, to me, is the number 1 pitcher on this slate. He hasn't been as good since he came back as he was before his injury. But in the 4 starts since he came back, he still has a 23% strikeout rate. He has some pretty good batted ball data. So I think that there's enough there to feel good about Ynoa, and what I still think is a plus matchup. So to me, Ynoa's number 1, Jose Barrios is number 2. I would be very okay using just those 2 guys for tonight, using just Barrios and just Ynoa. If you made me pick a third one, I'd go Ranger Suarez, but the strikeout juice has been there recently. I'm not totally convinced it'll stick. So to me, I think it's kind of a 2-pitcher night with Ynoa 1 and Barrios 2. Salvatore says, got $2,800 left for an outfielder. Who is the best play? Let's go over here and check out the outfield for today. and scroll down to outfield. Salvatore thinks I'll say DJ Stewart. You might be right, DJ. Who can say? I don't know. Okay. Actually, Austin Hayes, I know he's not as good versus righties as lefties. We do want to prioritize lefties over righties for today. I think Austin Hayes is pretty fun. I didn't refresh this. I've not refreshed. Oh, Austin Hayes isn't in there. Sick. This is why you always refresh, kids. I didn't do that. So, oh well. There is no Austin Hayes for today. DJ Stewart batting 5th. So your intuition might have been pretty good there, Salvatore. Might be on DJ Stewart as the top outfielder at $2,500 or $2,800 or lower. I think that's probably a pretty fair one. DJ does say Odubel Herrera at $2,800. I do think that's okay. I think that's a fine selection there, DJ, because Herrera has some upside, has some pop versus righties. Antonio Senzatela keeps people on the ground in general, but does let up hard contact, doesn't get a ton of strikeouts. So I do think that DJ's suggestion of Herrera is one I'd be willing to consider. Like Salvatore, let's say, I think this gym guy is stupid. I don't want to use DJ Stewart. I think that Herrera is a very good alternative to go to there. So keep that in mind. Benintendi is facing Means. Meh. Lefty on lefty there. I like Grichuk. Grichuk is batting 7th, so a bit lower in the order. Actually, let's go Grichuk. $2,600. I'm going to go Grichuk. So sorry, we're going to go against our boy Dong Jockey Stewart and go with Randall Grichuk as the top outfielder below $2,800. I know he's batting 7th, but I just like that lineup a lot. So give me Randall Grichuk as the top guy at $2,800 or lower. DJ is asking for thoughts on John Means. I think, DJ, you could justify either stacking against him or using him as your pitcher. I think you can go either way with this one because Means is a good pitcher. He's a good pitcher. We saw that earlier on this year. He does suppress hard contact. So there is a path to Means paying off for daily fantasy. The reason that Means is not as high on the list for me for today is A, the Royals don't strike out very much, and B, Means hasn't been as good since he came back from the injured list. So I think that there is definitely a pathway here to stacking the Royals. Let's check out the Royals lineup over here for today because I've not looked at that one yet. Salvador Perez, best hitter in baseball. Let's ride, baby. Let's go with that one. Alberto Mondesi, no brainer there. There is no Edward Olivares for today, which makes sense. I mean, he's been pretty rough. I think given the pitching salaries, Whit Merrifield, we should be able to get him in there with Perez and Mondesi. And I saw some talk about Benintendi in there, but from DJ. Benintendi went crazy last night. He did. It was like 47 points, something like that. I didn't have enough. I'd stacked the Royals. I had Benintendi in there. Didn't have enough, DJ. I underestimated him. That was bad on me. But he's facing a lefty this time in Means. So let's check out Benintendi's numbers versus lefties to see if we can get back on Benintendi once again today. The Benny train. Actually, a 163 ISO versus lefties isn't too bad for Benintendi. Relative to where he's at versus righties, it is a higher number than Carlos Santana. So actually, DJ, you know what? Let's go under Benintendi. I think that's fine. I think that if you're stacking the Royals, let's go over here. Let's get I want Perez in there first because he's disgusting. I'm going to put Alberto Mondesi at shortstop. We're going to put hard hit Witt at second base. And we'll put Benintendi in the outfield. Benny. Oh, bad. All right. Put Benintendi in the outfield. We'll go over here and put Inoa in. At pitcher, we are at 30-50 left. We can make that work. So I think this is a pretty good stack for the Royals for today. DJ, you talked me into Benintendi. Let's ride, baby. I like it. Jerry's asking about Nicky Lopez at $2,800. I'm not a Lopez guy personally because the power's rough. He's batting second, which is always good, but against lefties, Nicky Lopez, an 0.69 ISO. Very nice, but not nice for DFS. So I'll pass on Nicky Lopez. I don't really use him against righties even. He's lefty on lefty for tonight, so I'm okay missing out on Nicky Lopez for today. Salvatore says DJ over Grichuk. So he wants DJ Stewart over Randall Grichuk. And it looks like Salvatore wants to make a bet. Let's do a little friendly here, Salvatore. And I think they're both good. So I'm not saying absolutely no way, can't go DJ Stewart, but let's do a friendly little, not a wager, but Salvatore, if let's say if DJ Stewart outscores Randall Grichuk, you can come in the chat tomorrow and say Byron Buxton is a replacement level player. That is the bet here, Salvatore. If DJ outscores Grichuk, you need to come in the chat for free and say Byron Buxton is a replacement level player. That is the most hurtful thing I could possibly think of someone saying. So that's our bet here, Salvatore. I like it. I like both sides. So again, not talking down DJ Stewart, but let's get a friendly little competition in here between myself and Salvatore. Joy, can't believe her ears, overheard me saying Byron Buxton replacement level. Joy probably going to quit mid-show out of like protest that like I'm besmirching Byron Buxton and cursing the show. So thankfully Joey is still here. We appreciate that. And hopefully she'll stick around for the rest of it as well. Let's talk to Jerry. Would you stack four-player Atlanta stack with Colorado and KC with Enoa as pitcher? I do like Enoa. I do like Atlanta. So I think that those are all viable. I'm not as into Colorado. That's the one part where I get the hang up. I know I said that like Suarez is my number 3 pitcher. The reason that I'm not like rushing to use him is because he's not a big strikeout guy. I also do not want to use batters facing him because the one thing I know he will do well is suppress hard contact. In the 7 starts Suarez has made, he has a 32% hard hit rate allowed with a 21% fly ball rate. Those are numbers that are hard to generate upside against. He does walk guys, so that's a path to things happening, but just really tough bat at ball data. So I would go against Colorado, probably skewing more towards, the Royals do work, DJ. Maybe you get a 4-player Royals stack in there. Maybe you get some Orioles in there. I would say go that way over Colorado. Quick sip of water because we've been talking for 41 minutes. I misswallowed that. There is definitely some in my lungs now, I'm pretty sure. I don't know if that works scientifically, but I think there's water in my lungs. I might be drowning at the moment. Anyway, Jackie says, sorry, this isn't baseball, but I just saw a $75,000 ticket for Zeke anytime touchdown score. I actually did think his odds were a little long. Jackie, that was not me who placed that bet. That was not me. I'll just say that. But I did think his odds were a little bit long. Savon, how would you stack Philadelphia? Okay, let's go over here and check out the Phillies lineup for today versus Senzatella. The first thing you do before you do anything else, before you even pull up the Phillies numbers versus righties, which is what we always do. Before you do any of that, Savon, the first thing you do is you lock in the baddest boy in all the land. You get Bryce Harper in there. $3,900, don't care. We're putting him in there. Doesn't matter. Put Odubel Herrera in there. Put Brad Miller in there. And probably going to go Didi over Kutch and Segura. Let's pull up I do want to check on Didi just because, like, I always assume that he's doing well and I use him a lot. I never really know how those lineups do, I guess. So maybe I should, like, actually check in to make sure I'm making wise investments. Maybe I'm not. Let's see. All right. So for Didi, we have a 185 ISO, 44% fly ball rate, sick. That is your Philly stack for today is Harper, Herrera, Gregorius, Miller. Lock it in. We're good to go. Love that stack quite a bit. Salvatore, taking my chances with the national stack. Only 12,000 entries. Facing Enoa. I like Enoa personally. I think he's a good pitcher. I believe my colleague Tom Vecchio in his props column up on numberFire, and Tom's awesome. So good at his job. He has a Juan Soto home run in there. So if you're on Tom's side, that's always a good thing. Feel good about that. Personally, I like Enoa a lot. So I won't be on the Nationals. But again, I've been wrong about them. Like I said with Austin telling me how good they've been over the past month or so. So I've been wrong on them before. Could be wrong on them again tonight, but I like Enoa quite a bit. Jackie says, man, I'd love to be able to place $100 bets, let alone $75,000 maybe one day. Jackie, wouldn't we all? $75,000 sounds sick. Although I might want to put that somewhere else. Like a bowling alley. Let's get a bowling alley instead of a Zeke Elliott anytime home run prop. Jerry says, got to go Blackman and McMahon. Both lefties. Facing guy doesn't let up a lot of fly balls and hard contact, but Jerry's trying to be different. I get it. We got to find ways to be different, especially on a 4-game slate, Jerry. So get the line of thought. I will not be there personally because of how well Suarez suppresses hard contact. Jackie says, Cardinals beat the Dodgers again. What is going on with them? That whole NL West race is wild, Jackie. Not sure if you have a ticket on that one. I don't. I saw, because I ran some power ranking numbers before the year, And my numbers are like, oh, it's going to be the Dodgers or the Padres, and there's not really value in either team. And I was like, okay, I just won't bet it. And here come the Giants just like steamrolling people, looking pretty good. And I like the Giants a lot. So I missed out there. I hope that things are going well for you, Jackie, with the NL West. Savon says the Baltimore lineup just came out. Okay, so we want to skew towards lefties a bit more here versus Hernandez. So Mullins, always good. DJ Stewart, sick. Santander, superstar. Anthony Santander, superstar. So I'd say start with those three guys. Good to see Trey Mancini back in there. I'd pick between Mountcastle and Mancini for your fourth slot. I'd probably go Mountcastle because I felt a lot better on Mountcastle recently. Mancini's awesome. Such a good hitter. So it's hard to choose. I like both, but if I had to pick one, I'd go Mountcastle there. Jerry is asking for thoughts on Barrios. I'd say he's number 2. And Jerry, that's tough for me to say because I know the Yankees like numbers are not that great, but you look at the guys in this lineup and there's a lot of good hitters there. Obviously, Gallo has struggled since he joined this team, but like I still respect him a lot from a hitting perspective. So when I look at this lineup, this Yankees lineup, I know I pointed physically with my hand, which you can't see. I pointed physically. I should just use my mouse. I respect the names in this Yankees lineup, which is why it's tough to go with Barrios. But like when you look at the actual like pitching talent on this slate, to me, it seems like Barrios is like the best guy by a pretty wide margin. 3.66 skill interactive ERA, despite having his velocity declining over his past 10 starts, still a 26% strikeout rate. The Yankees will strike out. So, Jerry, to me, Barrios is number 2 behind Inoa for tonight. I think that they're both pretty viable. I think the drop-off after them is precipitous. So, for me, it all starts with Inoa and Barrios for tonight. DJ, would you consider stacking Kansas City and Toronto with Suarez? If so, can you show how to build a quick lineup on that? So, let's put Suarez in here. I'm guessing that the reason that DJ wants to go with Suarez is because the Blue Jays are very high salaried. So DJ, that is a very fair way to approach things. Let's pull up the Blue Jays lineup here. Kirk is batting 5th. Oh my goodness. Our darling boy batting 5th. Let's boogie. Okay. Let's get Alejandro in there at $2,600. $2,600. All right. And Danny Jansen. Oh my goodness. Wow. We're living the good life. All right. We'll put Grichuk there. I want to get Teoscar because I can and I feel like it. And then we got one more slot here, probably leaning Semien if I can get there. Yeah, probably leaning Semien. Might be tough. Actually, Vlad's like the same salary. Why would I take Semien over Vlad? Let's just go Vlad. Idiot. Come on. Okay, there we go. So if I do that, that means that I've got 3,150 left. That does probably mean that I'm skewing towards Benintendi in my Royal stacks because I can save some salary there. So I think the DJ, if you're trying to jam in all those good Blue Jays, which you should, I would bump up Benintendi as a result of his salary relative to some other guys for tonight. Salvatore, can we do Inoa with the Soto one-off? Think Inoa will still get the top pitching score. On a 4-game slate, that's more viable, Salvatore, because like you just have fewer options. The one thing that I would say is that we've got a lot of other really good high salary plays for today. So you got Vlad, you got Semien, you've got, I like Albies a lot, always. Teoscar, absurd versus lefties. Alberto Mondesi's really fun. So I would say, yes, you can do that, Salvatore, because it's a small slate. And the odds that Inoa and Soto are both in the perfect lineup on a smaller slate are higher because like there are just fewer guys who can go off. So that's a viable option, Salvatore. It's not my preferred option because there are so many high salary guys who I love for today. That'd be the one opposing thing that I have there. Kyle, any interest in Kevin Smith or Danny Jansen for low-cost exposure to, or low-salary exposure to Toronto? Is Kevin Smith in there? He is. Kevin Smith has stupid AAA stats. Let's just do this here. Let's pull him up because I had like a Kevin Smith binge where I used him like 3 slates in a row. I think he had a home run once and then did nothing the other couple nights. Let's just pull up Kevin Smith's AAA numbers here. They don't really matter that much, but like 289 ISO, 40% fly ball rate, did strike out a bit, but like, 19 dingers, 16 stolen bases. That's awesome. So let's say, Kyle, you're trying to get to Barrios because he's a high salary guy. We really need to save some salary. Let's go Kevin Smith, shortstop. Let's get Vlad at third. Let's get Teoscar in there. And do I want to go Kirk? Do I want to go Grichuk? I mean, you can get Semien in there, honestly. As long as you're, it's tough, but like I think you can do that. So yeah, I think that Kevin Smith actually is fine. I will say, Kyle, too, that Danny Jansen's like, he's a solid hitter, got pretty good power numbers, a small sample versus lefties. He wears glasses, which is great. I think that we should all be in favor of that. We want more bespectacled beasts on the grid or on the diamond. Look at that. How can you not want to use that? Danny Jansen, our Canadian hero. I think he's from Wisconsin, actually. That might not be accurate. Anyway, Danny Jansen's great. So pro Danny Jansen, I would say between those guys, I'd probably go... Well, among the lower salary guys in general, it's Grichuk 1, Kirk 2, then either Jansen or Smith 3, but I'm fine with any of them, Kyle. I think that they all work for tonight. Savon, if you had to be different and choose a different pitcher in different stacks, who would you choose? So basically asking for under the radar picks for today. It's a good question, Savon, because it's harder to be more contrarian on such a small slate. I would bet that Jose Barrios is probably not going to be as popular because the Yankees implied total is 4.35. That is higher than what the Nationals is. So maybe use, because like I really have a tough time being different a pitcher if I know I'll be taking like a loss in terms of the projection. I think that Suarez will probably be more popular than I'd like tonight. So I would say still go with Inoa, still go with Barrios. If you're looking for like an under the radar stack, that's where I think the Royals pop up. Means lets up a lot of fly balls. The Royals have some guys who can hit for some power. So I think that the Royals are a pretty good quote unquote under the radar stack for today. And the Blue Jays too. The implied total there is pretty low for the Jays. So I'd say the Jays and the Royals, Savon, good ways to go to try to be a bit more contrarian in terms of stacking. DJ is asking, any Eric Fetty love? I'd want to stack against him, so probably not. Low strikeout rate, facing a good team, on the road. I would rather stack against him than use him as a pitcher for today. Hi, Kroos, over on YouTube. TJ Watt signing a 4-year, $112 million extension. Good for him. He had like a hold in the entire training camp, which was always kind of awkward. I know that Dwayne Brown did the same thing, but TJ Watt's a good player. He deserves that. He didn't practice all summer, so I'm betting he'll play, but I wouldn't be shocked if on Sunday his snap rate maybe is a bit lower, just because like I don't know if he's conditioned at this point. He might be. I mean, he's TJ Watt. He's totally probably fine. But I think that it's good for him. And I'd still expect him to play on Sunday, given that it's TJ Watt and he's kind of too valuable to have him sit. Jackie says, stack the Orioles if you want to be different. I think that they're probably going to get some popularity here, Jackie, just because let's pull up the heat map over here. Their implied total is pretty high relative to the rest of the slate. The Braves, 5.60. Actually, Orioles aren't all that high. So yeah, I think that works, Jackie. They might be a little bit different. I think that they'll probably be more popular than that, but either way, still, I'm on board with them regardless, I would say, Jackie. Savon, I don't care. I don't know if we went over it, but how do we stack Atlanta? We did not go over it, Savon. Good catch. Sorry about that. Let's go over here and check out the Braves lineup. Okay. Ooh, Duvall's batting 5th. Love to see it. I'm on board with that. So let's go over here. I want to go to Inoa for this one. Just because, again, Inoa is my number one. I was putting Barrios in there to see how thin I'd be if I decided to go with that. Let's go here to the Braves and check out what we've got. Okay. Albies 42, Freeman 39, Duvall 35. I'm going to put Duvall in there. Great salary for him. Into it. Jock is $2,500. Sick. Let's do that as well. Gives us more flexibility elsewhere. Then we'll go Freeman, and I want Albies in there. This lineup gets us to 30-25 left. We can make that work. We got the lower salaried Phillies. We got some lower salaried Orioles, some lower salaried Royals. This one can work. So I would say, Savon, to me, this is my go-to stack when stacking the Braves for tonight. Savon's asking about Carlos Hernandez or Nestor Cortez for single entry. For Hernandez, it's a low strikeout rate. Facing a team I think is pretty good. I wouldn't go there. For Cortez, really tough matchup. Really, really, really tough matchup. I'm okay going at like awesome pitchers in tough matchups on smaller slates, but it's really tough for me to do that when I don't know, when it's not an elite pitcher. And that's not to like speak ill of Cortez, who's fun. He's really good. Just not quite in that realm. Not like that Garrett Cole realm where I'll use him as like even to get in a tough matchup. So that's why I'm lower on Cortez. And I think I just play things straight at pitcher with Inoa and Barrios. DJ, need $2,300 in the catcher/first base slot. Good for you, DJ. You're on the right site. Good. Love to see it. Any love for Kyber Ruiz? Kyber Ruiz, projected to bat 6th for today. He's facing Inoa. That's kind of tough. Ruiz is a really good hitter. Just got called up, but like he's a legit hitter. So he's fun. Probably not going to be my first choice there, but let's go over to catcher/first base. Again, it's mostly because of the matchup with Inoa. I think Inoa is really good. That makes it harder for me to sell myself on him. I'm like it. Zimmerman probably won't play because it's a righty, but like if he were to go there, I could be more. I'd be more okay to go with that. No Ryan O'Hearn, Stephen Vogt. It's not bad. Marchand, not a big power guy. I might actually go Vogt just because like it's the team we want, and Vogt has at some point in his life been a decent power guy. So I actually might go Vogt there, DJ. Stephen Vogt might be the preference for me over Ruiz, despite the fact that I think Ruiz is a very good hitter. If you can get to Brad Miller at $2,500, I think that's way better option. If you can get there, so try to get to Brad Miller, try to get to Jansen or Kirk. I think those options are a lot better. So try to find the 200 to get up to Brad Miller for tonight. Jim says, I have 17 lineups in Showdown. You mean single game, Jim? Got to use the FanDuel terminology. Antonio Brown seems to be popping a lot for captain. Again, you mean MVP, Jim? Let's go with the FanDuel terminology here. For FanDuel, because you're not changing salaries depending on where you put them, I'm not as inclined towards Antonio Brown because you just want to pick the highest scoring guy. So on FanDuel, Jim, single game, MVP, not as into Antonio Brown. All right. Savon asking if we've got any dinger calls. My dinger calls today, I think, were Freddie Freeman and... Oh, it was the Blue Jays catcher. And I didn't think that'd be a cop-out. I was like, I don't know who will play, so I'll just pick the Blue Jays catcher. And apparently it is a cop-out because both Kirk and Jansen are in the lineup. So maybe, Savon, they're both going deep? Maybe they're both going deep. I don't know. Maybe both Kirk and Jansen go deep. I'm not calling that. I would say Teoscar is like the straight-up home run call after Freeman. But like maybe Kirk and Jansen both go yard. If they do... then we got to say Byron Buxton will be the MVP. Like, if both Alejandro Kirk and Danny Jansen go deep, we need all of chat tomorrow to be saying Byron Buxton will be the 2022 MVP. That's the rule. So Salvatore wins with the DJ versus Grichuk bet. It's Byron Buxton will be a replacement level player, or is a replacement level player just for Salvatore, not for all of you goons, meanies. But if both Kirk and Jansen go deep, Byron Buxton will be your 2022 MVP in the chat for tomorrow. DJ asking about Lane Thomas. I don't like the matchup that much. Final question. Kyle says, Jock Peterson, ? Jock Peterson, exclamation point, Kyle. Yes. I think for $2,500 in a matchup that we like, for a team that we like, I'm on board. Jock jams for tonight. Jock's been disappointing this year, but we're going to get the Jock jams rocking once again. That is all that we have here for today on the FanDuel Live Q&A. We are back once again tomorrow for a full hour-long discussion. The snake draft with myself, Brandon, and JJ will be here at 4 p.m. 4 to 4:30, we'll do a 3-person snake draft on FanDuel, and then take your questions about that week's DFS slate. That's tomorrow, 4 to 4:30. At 4:30, I'll have MLB breaking down the Friday slate, and it's I would say underwhelming Friday slate. Unfortunately, wow. Where are we? Oh, I mixed it around. Okay, let's go here. So this is tomorrow's slate. If you want to get a jump start in your research, it's Robbie Ray Day tomorrow. But outside of that, pretty underwhelming slate. Back there tomorrow, 4:30 to talk about baseball, 4 p.m. for the snake draft. If you got more questions for me, I'm on Twitter at Jim Sannes, JimSannes. Big thank you to Joy Affleck, our video producer. And as Jackie says, shout out Jim, shout out Joy. I agree. Shout out Joy, our video producer, as always, for Run the Sticks for today. Thank you to all of you for tuning in. Good luck with your bets. Good luck with your single game lineups. Good luck with your 4-game MLB DFS slate. We'll talk to you once again tomorrow. This has been the FanDuel Live Q&A.